Hi, guys. This is Local Relief Live. I am Heather Hackett, your host, and today we have a really great show for you. So, we have a friend of mine that I have just met, but I like her a lot. I think you will know why, and I think you will like her just as much. Very smart cookie, very cool program to talk to you about. The program itself is called Paalpay, and that's Payments as a Lifeline, not to be confused with PayPal. And her name is Kirsten Trusko. She is the co-founder and the CEO of Paalpay, and we are going to tell you all about it. So, Kirsten, welcome and thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, this to me is fascinating because we talk so often about how people respond to disasters. And because I'm someone relatively new to disasters, I am very curious on how the whole process works. And, we talked about it more in detail last week and the week before, but I really do want to share your organization because it is truly invaluable. For organizations like mine. So not necessarily people impacted, although they are definitely on that receiving end, but really organizations that do want to help and don't quite know how. So I am really excited to share this information with everybody. So again, thank you, but let's dig in. Tell us, what is Paalpay?
So thank you for having me. So Payments as a Lifeline is a 501c3, so it's a nonprofit, and it's a coalition of financial technology companies, payment companies, blockchain, AI, and we all come together to be ready to deliver funds to the right person at the right time for the right purpose with the data to prove it. And we were conceived in Katrina and we're finally born in COVID. And the real goal is to help make sure people get funds, people and small businesses receive funds fast, safe, and with dignity. And
So
that's,
for people, sorry.
I was going
No,
to
go ahead.
say, and we work closely with the organizations that deliver goods or services, but money is every bit essential as medical and healthcare, and without money, that's really tough to do things.
Absolutely. And people don't so often you hear from people that think disaster goes one way and it really goes another. So even before we get into exactly what it is, let's apply it and say how was it born in Katrina, or I'm sorry, conceived in Katrina and born during COVID. So tell us about how that process and how it was implemented.
Absolutely. So my background has always been financial technology, banking, payments, technology kind of stuff, with a heart for the underbanked. So in the US, there's 50 to 80 million people without bank accounts for all kinds of reasons, right? So when Katrina hit, I was at KPMG, which is a big management consulting organization. And we were the only one of the big four like us that had a practice that focused on serving the unbanked and underbanked. So Katrina hits, we get a call from the largest NGO in the world, and they said, hey, we've got all these people that are impacted by Katrina and they can't leave. They don't have the money to leave. One of the stats even now is that fewer than 60% of Americans have $400 for an emergency. So
Wow.
often you'll hear the news saying, well, why didn't they evacuate? Well, they didn't have the money to evacuate, right? So that's what happened in Katrina. So we get the call. It was Labor Day weekend 20 years ago, right? So there were the people impacted by Katrina who wanted to leave, who can't. And this NGO came to KPMG because we could serve the un and underbanked. And we ended up issuing, at the time, it was a plastic card. It was a Visa or MasterCard, got it into their hands, and people were able to receive money again and again. They could leave, they could go get housing. So that was 20 years ago. And you flash forward now, until PAL was stood up, there was still just that one NGO using these fintech capabilities, and they were using an old version of it. So when
tell me about that. Tell me, what does that mean as far as like old version? Because fintech, which is of course like financial technology, but as far as they were using the old technology, the old methods, talk about that part.
It was like a gift card. So
Okay.
think about a gift card. if you receive one, whatever dollars are on it are on the card itself. Let's say you get $100 gift card. I could beat you up and take it away from you, right? Because the money is on the card. If you lose it, it's gone. The whole value is gone. You can't reload it. I couldn't give you another $1,000. And for the entities who are funding it, whether it's government or it's a NGO or it's foundation, they quite often, especially with disaster funds, they really want you to spend it on necessities, housing and food and fuel. Sure. They don't want you going to the casino or to adult entertainment or things that spend your own money on that, right?
Correct.
So now it's still whoever has the money and is trying to get it out of the foundation, NGO, they can choose. It could still be a plastic, a Visa, or a MasterCard. It could load to your wallet on your phone. You can go spend it for whatever these necessities are. And there's aggregated data, aggregated and anonymized. So at the end, let's say an organization came in and they wanted to pump $50 million into the LA fires, the areas that were hit. They could say, we want to pump it in, we want to give it to people, and we want to make sure that it's used for necessities, that it's not going to the casino. So on the back end, we can set all of that up. Heather gets her account on her phone or on a card, and maybe you get $1,000 one time. Maybe you get $1,000 a month for 12 months. We've got programs running in the Maui fires that are 4 years. And there's others that are universal basic income programs that have nothing to do with a natural disaster. It's an economic disaster. So the lovely thing is the recipient, the person or the small business, they receive the funds like on a debit card, right? They go and spend it like anybody else. So it's fast, it's safe, it's with dignity. One example was in the LA fires. One of the really large NGOs that we get to work with was in this response center, and there were 35 different nonprofits that were there, and God bless them. I mean, right there, people filed through, a couple thousand people came through, and they went to every desk and they filled out whatever the paperwork was. Our partner, IR USA, they were the only ones where the survivors who came through, it was loaded on a Visa card onto their phone, and they could go spend it when they left. And one lady was in tears. She says, "You mean I can go fill my kid's prescription? I don't have to wait 3 and 5 weeks like these others." So it's fast, it's safe. It gives that data, the aggregated data, which helps the board or the donors or the taxpayers to know that money went for essentials. And it creates this virtuous circle. So many of the organizations we've worked with have said, we reported the data back, aggregated, anonymized data, and it's encouraging more money to come through to help the same people. So instead of just a 1 or 2 time, it can be again and again, because those who are giving the money can see that it's going for essentials. It's keeping people alive and healthy and helping them to rebuild their lives.
Yeah, unbelievable. And then from that standpoint, so as far as tracking it, where you can see what they spend money on, is that afterwards, or they can only spend money at X, Y, and Z places, or they can spend it anywhere, but you're able to see what either where they spend it or what they spend it on? Is that accurate? Or?
There's several answers to the question, and it depends. The technology will support any of that. Okay. And it depends on what the funder, the one who has the money getting out, if they say, so we've got one that's money going into a fire area, and it's now 2 years after the fire. And the foundation said, our mission is housing. We want to make sure everybody has a roof over their head. In that same fire, there's another foundation whose mission is food. So for these, I think it's 2,000 households, for 4 years, they're getting $2,000 a month towards their housing and $1,200 a month towards their food. And once they've spent all their food money, it's like having an envelope that has money in it for food, money in it for housing. Once they've spent all that, and they're at the grocery store, the point of sale will just say, how would you like to pay the other $2.22?
Wow.
So it's all behind the scenes, in that nobody has to do anything different, but the technology supports all of that. And then that data is aggregated and anonymized. So I can't see how Heather spent her money, but I can see she's one of 10,000 households impacted. And this is how those 10,000 households spent their money. This percent went to gas and this percent to groceries.
Wow. Now, oh my gosh, there's so many questions, but really, as far as being a nonprofit and having people, question is not just mine in particular, but just the nonprofits in general of, how do you disperse that funding? It is a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare from a nonprofit standpoint, saying, how do you track? How do you know? How do you just not stroke someone a check and just assume? Because I mean, realistically, what were you finding as far as if you just give someone a check, or if you just give them a credit card? Where does that money? Is there a standard of where that money, fortunate or unfortunately, typically goes?
Well, so once you give somebody a check, or you just
Mhm.
deposit money into their account, you have no visibility at all. And there's no guardrails. So
Oh,
you
right.
hear
So you wouldn't know.
reports.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
wouldn't know. And that's where, even for somebody who doesn't have a bank account, the money goes in, it acts like a debit card, your debit card, right? If somebody beats you up and takes your debit card, that doesn't mean they took your money,
sure.
right? The account can be replaced. And what the funders, whether it's government or private sector, this is disaster and aid money. They want to make sure that it's going for the purpose intended and not to the casino. And that's one of the biggest pieces of feedback we hear. There was one of the big fundraisers, fire aid for the LA fires, and God bless them, they raised, I don't know, $100 million, whatever it was. But the fundraising was done saying, we're going to give money directly into the hands of people. And what, like you just said, Heather, it's hard to do if you don't
Yeah.
have it set up in advance. And so then you saw interviews with people who are affected saying, no money went to people. Money went to charities, and some of those charities might have had really good missions. But as far as giving money to people to go buy groceries for their kids or secure housing, that's why we're always saying, let's be prepared.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
make sure that we're running pilots and so everybody knows how it will work, whether it's with an NGO, or I just got the phone with one of the really big cities that's impacted a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fantastic because it's something where we haven't even come close to touching it, for the simple fact that I've been told explicitly by, other organizations, governments, anybody that says, they don't want to go anywhere near giving money directly to people because of that, because it is too risky, and you can't track it and you don't know where it goes. It is a tremendous problem. So who you look for, like right now, because blue skies is when the gray sky people prepare, right? So this is actually our go time. So this is the time now where people need to know of services that are offered for blue skies. So who do you look for? Which organizations can you benefit?
So there's a couple of answers to that. One is the actual boots on the ground, the nonprofits. Think of groups like Boys and Girls Club, right? They know those
Mhm.
families. Global Empowerment Mission, they come in and they take care of people for as long as a disaster.
Yeah.
IRUSA, all of these are organizations we get to work with, as well as counties and states, right? They have programs as well. But we want to work with them now, even if the pilot is just 100 people, even if it's just 10
Yeah.
people, we'll work with them on exactly how they want the program to be. Do they want guardrails to it? Do they want repeated, the opportunity to give money repeated times? So in blue sky days, we look to be prepared. And the preparedness is driven by working with partners, foundations, corporates, state and local, other nonprofits. well, we'll run a pilot, and it could be 10 of your employees, it could be 100 people, including your donors or your board members, and we issue the account and have them go spend money, just like a survivor would spend money. And the purpose is so that that organization can see how easy it is to use, but also they can see that aggregated, anonymized data.
Again, just to clarify, and I didn't think of it either. And I love the fact that during the blue skies, you are preparing by asking your staff, your partners, to test it, not let's wait until a disaster happens and then test it with the first 10 people or 100 people that need it. Let's do a beta in-house, which absolutely makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. And from that standpoint, I think that's brilliant. And it really does give the opportunity to test it during blue skies, where most people test things during gray skies. And that's, or they don't want to mess with anything in gray skies at all. And gray skies, of course, is when disaster happens. But I think it's just brilliant to do that side of it and just say, okay, want to see how it works? Here you go try it. And I think it's fantastic. I think what you do is fantastic.
Well, thank you. It does take the whole PAL group, but to your point, you test it, you prove it out, not on survivors, on yourselves. And part of what you get to see, not only is it just like using a visa, right? It feels very easy, but the amount of time that's saved in not having to do all that accounting and the audits and the reports, and who's ever supplying the funds, if they say, we want a weekly report, we don't want to wait till the end of our funds, we want to see how it's being spent. And there's one really large NGO that we're doing this we ran with them on a recent disaster, and she was looking at the data, and she found that there was a large percent of money spent on baby kind of stuff, diapers and formula and all, because of where they were buying it. And so she went to the manufacturer and said, hey, this is disaster, we need more. And so they pushed, again, through the same phone, to say, here's $50, go spend it wherever you want on this brand of diapers.
Right. That's really smart as well. Yeah, that really is. Cause then that triggers for people that are like, us, we thrive with partnerships. So for any organization that knows that their not user base, but their money is being spent on X, Y, and Z, what better of an opportunity to be able to go to X, Y, and Z companies and say, hey, we happen to know first and foremost that you guys, or at least your type of product, is the first thing to be purchased, and then go with, use those organizations for donors and sponsors. I think that's fantastic.
And those organizations get some really great earned media where they stepped up to the plate, and that goes out into the media, and they don't have to buy the ads for it. They're getting earned media.
Yeah. Oh no, it checks off all the boxes as far as a nonprofit, PR moment goes. I mean, it really does, because exactly what it's being spent on, especially for when you are raising funds. When you're raising money, the first thing people want to know is, where does it go? So to be able to tell your donors, this is exactly where it's going, this is exactly what it's being spent on, we can track it, and we know that is invaluable to your organization. It really is. And I can see where that would be such a tremendous value add, because every nonprofit, especially in disasters, I mean, we revolve around donors, we're kind of dead without them. So to be able to have that data, I think is phenomenal.
Well, and in disaster, Americans are incredibly generous. It's amazing to see neighbors helping neighbors, like with your organization.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to help, but many times I'll get calls even from CEOs of banks, right? Disaster hit. And they said, I want to know how to get money out to people. Who do I work with, boots on the ground? Because I don't want to be a sucker. I want to make sure it really goes to help people. And this technology has been around since health savings accounts were created, however many years ago that was. So it's long proven technology. We're just pointing it at disaster and humanitarian aid.
Yeah. Oh no, I think it's fantastic. And before I forget too, for any organization that does want to learn more about this, especially if you are in Florida or if you're going to be in Miami in March,
Mhm.
what's going on in Miami in March?
Miami, March. So March 3rd in Miami at the convention center, or near the convention center, we're locking it in, will be the 4th PAL FinTech Disaster Forum. So that is bringing together, FEMA called us a convener. They said, you're bringing together certainly the government, but also the foundations, the corporates, the nonprofits on the ground, donors, and showing we know there's plenty of money out there, and we know there's plenty of need, but like I did a speech at Palisades after the fire, and we called the speech "Financial Constipation," because the money's here and the need is here, but it gets stuck in the middle. And that's Payments as a Lifeline was stood up as a nonprofit to bring together all these technologies to make sure things move as they're supposed to.
Yes. Yes. You want them to move. It is incredibly frustrating, common. It's the nature of the beast for things to be stagnant. People want to help, and it does. That's I hate to say it's a great way to say it, but it's a great way to say it, to be constipated. So it really is. You have an abundance of people. It really does showcase the best of humanity. People want to donate, they want to give. But at the same time, when you have organizations like told what I've been told of, you don't want to give to people because it is a lot, and you do have to vet and make sure, and you don't want them to spend it on the wrong things, and to be able to have that solution and say, actually, we can track and we can do, and here's a solution for it. I mean, that really does change the game. So.
But it does. And my graphic back here is reminding me to bring something up. So in disaster, there's a lot of talking. I mean, I've been involved in disaster for a lot of years, right? And there's people with great intentions, and you meet up at whatever convention and you swear you're going to get together and you're going to change things, and you see them the next year and you make the same commitment, right? So this GSD gets stuff done. So I've got the
we know what GSD is.
Yes,
absolutely.
And it's been kind of a rallying cry with even some of the largest corporate foundations, some of the largest NGOs, even government. And one of my colleagues at one of the largest NGOs, he says, now when we send out an email or we call a meeting, if we just want solutions, we don't want people whining about what doesn't work and, oh, we tried that before. We put hashtag GSD at the beginning of the invite. And he said, it's been amazing because it cuts out all of this wasted time.
Yeah. There are so many, oh my gosh, so many wasted meetings of just in general. I think that people want to talk, but when disaster happens, time is of the essence, without question. Especially when you're talking Katrina, when you're talking any just disasters in general, time is of the essence. So to be able to have solutions as opposed to brainstorming sessions it's just incredibly impactful for those residents and for those areas and for locals and all the above. Yeah, it really is tremendous.
Well, and we've been talking about being prepared versus just responding. And there was a big conference that happens every year that brings together the voluntary organizations active in disaster. And we were Payments as a Lifeline. We had some of our partners, and we were talking through different disasters and how having money to people faster was good. And there was a gentleman in the audience who's an emergency manager, and he's one of them that comes in. He leads the team that with the helicopter that lifts you off your roof and saves you.
Oh yeah.
And he says, it's really expensive to do that. It'd be way better if the people had the money and they were safe and we weren't rescuing them. So he said it's about $18,000 to rescue somebody off their roof. And he said if we could give $1,800 to a family 2 days before the storm, or as they see the fires coming in, right, then they would be safe. And we could spend the money on response and rebuild, and not on as much on rescue.
That's incredible. Yeah, that amount is, you don't realize, because there's only so many people that can fit in a helicopter. You can only load it so much. But that is a tremendous amount of money, and savings from that standpoint, especially again, if you can streamline it.
Absolutely.
How did you get into this idea, and how did you get into this anyway? I'm curious.
So it goes back to the serving the and underbanked as kind of as a mission. Being in banking, that wasn't a cool thing. My boss kept saying, "What are you, stupid? Like, what are you doing?" And so seeing what happened in Katrina, so we were able to help, right? And in that instance of getting money to people the one time, but then I also saw the same firm I was with. We bid on the road home, $8 billion, which back in the day was a whole lot of money. And
it still is a whole lot of money, by the way.
Well, I have people saying that. Anyway, so that was the first tranche of money that was coming into New Orleans to rebuild. We won it. And so we were notified at midnight. And then the next morning, we read in the paper that it had been pulled from us, who were qualified. And it was a 2,100 page proposal. I mean, we could track every dollar, make sure.
Oh my gosh.
It was amazing. So it was pulled from us, given to somebody too small to bid. They weren't qualified. And anyway, and so I go to New Orleans a lot, always have. And you saw that money didn't go to the people. Less than 10% of that money got to the people. And as somebody who's in banking and financial technology, and my dad calls me a banker with a heart, the good guys, we have everything we need for that to never happen again.
Yeah.
We have it's not a technology problem. It's not a money problem. There's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines.
Well, that's 10% of 8 billion with a B. That's a lot of money not spent on who it's supposed to be spent on.
Yep. And that's, so with PAL, with our current administration, they talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. So PAL is set up to be transparent, right? You could give money and have it be just for casinos. That's your choice if you want. But I can tell when I'm talking to organizations, and I'll explain, so this is transparent, right? You set up what the rules are, and then it's stored to the blockchain. And that makes sure that all of the dollars are tracked. And once it's on the blockchain, you can't erase it, right? It's there. And I've talked to some folks that say, well, what if I made a mistake and I just want to erase that money went out? I'm like, you can't. It's on the blockchain. And that's how I can tell if they really want people to see where their money went.
Now, also to make sure, because I do want to clarify one thing super quick. It is not Bitcoin. This is not Bitcoin. It's blockchain. There is a very big difference. Explain the difference for people too.
I'm glad you brought that up. So this is a Visa or a MasterCard. It's regular dollars. Blockchain is a distributed ledger. It's accounting that sits in different places. One use case for it is crypto, but the technology on the back end just says this one accounting spreadsheet is now in 10,000 different places. So for accounting purposes, for proving that you had this thing and I didn't have this thing.
Yeah.
Blockchain is a ledger. It's a distributed ledger.
So basically it is a way to track money, not a type of currency.
Correct. Currency is a subset, is something that you can track. But
okay. I just want to make sure for people that are like, oh, no, just because it has a B doesn't mean it's the same thing.
No.
Very different.
In fact, to learn a little bit more about disaster and blockchain and distributed ledger, I'm on the board for the Faster Payments Council. So if somebody Googled Faster Payments Council, and one of the use cases is disaster. So it's a podcast if you only want to spend 10 minutes. It's a paper that has lots of citations, because internationally, many countries do this way better than we do. The US is way behind. We're great at response. We're not so good at recovery.
Yeah. See why I like talking to her? Very smart cookie.
Fun. It's fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, not just your lane, but all the other lanes as well. Which I think is, just incredible in itself. So also, because we are in gray skies and because we are at a point where this is time to prepare for the next season, what is your advice to anybody that, in that preparedness stage, and how can you help there?
It's imperative to run pilots, demonstration projects, whatever you want to call it, so that even if it's only 100 people, even if it's only you and your donors or you and your staff, so that we can show how that money goes out. Whoever receives it will spend it, will show the data back. That way, your team, your systems, your processes and methods, you're ready. If you call on a Friday afternoon when the hurricane has already hit, it's really hard to set up a secure, safe, fast system. But if we do it in advance and have it sitting there ready, it's in disaster. Pre-positioning is a huge thing. You pre-position access to water and electric trucks and all of that. Money is an essential. It's as important as some of these other essentials. So please, let's talk about your organization, your community, about running a pilot to show how it works. So you're ready, so you can call on a Friday afternoon and have that money out on Saturday or Monday.
Yeah. Disasters come fast, and that's why, even, I have worked again with Florida where they do, oh my gosh, mitigation, preparedness, so from that standpoint, absolutely. Because even there, if you start preparing when the disaster is coming, you're late. You are very late, so you really need to have everything in place now, soon, and then rest, relax, and know that if something does happen or if something is coming, that at least this component is done, because God knows there are so many other components that are coming with it. So absolutely. So if someone can make it to March 3rd in Miami, please do. Other than that, Kirsten, how can they get a hold of you?
So if you go onto our website at the bottom, you'll see support@paalpay.org. You'll see a phone number. Connect with me on LinkedIn. But this, especially if you're an organization that relies on donor funds, or you're a state, local, community, city, and there's funds that'll come in, but it might go to different places. If you can say, I am ready to get money into the hands of people, you will get the money first and you'll get more. So this isn't just about the survivors,
True.
It's about you and your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a big feature. I know we talked about that earlier as well, but that is a big feature, to be able to go to your donors are everything as a nonprofit. It really is, especially in disasters. You don't want to say, we'll figure it out. You want to know first and foremost, yes, we have it done, because if you're not, they're going to go to another organization that is and is already done and prepared for it. So 100%, I agree with you on that one, because disasters come fast. So I think, going to paalpay.org, that's PAALPAY.org, is something that should be in your preparedness plan, mitigation plan, whatever you want to call it. But just make sure you go and make sure you get there and send any information or questions to Kirsten, because again, we've already addressed the fact that she is a very smart woman. So again, I cannot thank you enough for your time and your insight today. It's invaluable.
And Heather, I'm so looking forward to working with your organization. We are hand in glove in what we do.
Yeah, likewise. So that being said, be sure to download the Local Relief app as well, because we work hand in hand. So again, I appreciate you. This is Heather Hackett with Local Relief Live, and be sure to like, share, follow, all that fun stuff, subscribe, but also share and tell people. So be sure to, again, download the app, have it on your phone, and then stay tuned to us for more great advice on how to get you or your organization ready for disasters. So thank you again. See you soon.